Hey guys, it's Lil Nugget Tales here, and today I just wanted to give a quick recommendation of one of the animes that actually finished up this season recently, and that is Your Lie in April. Oh man, it was really a great anime, at least for me personally, and it's a beautiful masterpiece, and it might go down as one of my favorites, but maybe it's just the hype of the moment. I'd really have to give it some time and see how I feel about it after, looking back on it. But just to give a quick overview of what it's really about, it's slice of life, music, drama, and tragedy. So those are really the genres that is focused around in the series. And if you're not into that, then that's fine. Maybe this anime is not for you. But if you are into that kind of anime, kind of the slice of life feel, or you're looking to get into that sort of anime, then I highly, highly suggest that you at least check out, Your Lie in April. So anyway, to give a quick description of what the basic plot is, we have our main character, Kosei Arima, who's just a genius pianist, trained by his mom, who was, I think, a pro or extremely skilled at it. And he's just a machine. I think he was top at the time for the country at his age, or at least one of the top. But during, I think, his fifth grade year, somewhere around that, but he was still in elementary, his mom was ill, and after her death, he just goes through a trauma. And he feels partly responsible, and it's really just correlated with how piano was, the relationship between him, and piano. And after that, he just suffers, and he's really traumatized. He actually suffers a condition where he can't really hear the notes anymore from the piano. I'm not sure if that's a real condition that musicians have to face, but our main character has to go through that. But ever since then, he's just dropped the piano cold turkey, and it's just really been much more gloomy than, a normal person would be, and rightfully so. But we fast forward to the present, and he meets this girl named Kaori, who basically just lights up his world. Complete opposite of him, optimistic, cheery, yeah, bright, and loves her violin. And her main role was just basically just pulling him back into that world of music. But yeah, that's basically what it's about. And there's a lot of really plot elements and just things that Kosei has to overcome. The main one being him and sort of forgiving himself, for this complicated relationship he had with his mom, who just drove him like a slave, working day in, day out, every day, practice, 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 just on the piano every day, all day, and just trying to get over the trauma of his mom's death, and trying to, get back in the piano and overcome his condition where he can't hear the notes anymore. After that sort of conflict is resolved, there's another conflict second half of the season that's probably the main center stage, and it's really just the second half of Kosei's character development. But I can't really say it since it's major spoilers, but I felt like that was much, much more tragic for Kosei in a way. Nah, some people can argue the other way, but basically Kosei has to go through another kind of grieving stage. Well, not grieving, but he's going through sort of a mirroring motion of what he's experienced in the past. But anyway, that's one of the main, plot points that Kosei has to, that's they cover in Your Lie in April. The second one, and it's really mostly intertwined with the first plot point, is that Kosei has to just get back into piano mode. He's been on hiatus for 3 years. 3 years, yeah. well, he's in eighth grade by this time, and he has to just get back into competition piano. He's played it a couple times, I think, for his work, but not really professionally. And his competition, or rivals as they'd say, has gotten much better. I mean, he used to own him all the time, but now they've had 3 years of endless practice. He has not. So he's really got to work his way up to the top. But what I really enjoyed about this was just the relationship between him and his rivals. They're not the typical bad guy, good guy, like most antagonists, they really don't like the main character. I mean, they're opposing him. And, it's just this I hate you, I want to kill you feeling. But in Your Lie in April, I'd even call it more friendly competition. They sort of inspire each other, just, they're each other's goals and they get along. I mean, music is a cool thing to have in common. And I thought that was really cool, just the fact that their relationship isn't hostile in any means necessary. I mean, in any way possible. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. But yeah, that's another thing that Kosei has to kind of overcome throughout the story. One other, just sort of conflict, I guess, or another plot is the relationships between Kosei and his friends. And it's really the four of them, and I'd say it's like a love square or like a love X, something of that shape. I don't know, a love parallelogram. But anyway, it's Kosei, our main character, Kaori, who the girl I mentioned was, the one who brought him back into the world of music, Tsubaki, his childhood friend, and Watari, his best friend. Um, if I had to sum it up, I'd say it's just like a high school drama, sort of love fest in a way. There's two girls, two guys, all crushing on each other. It was actually really nice to see, since all of their personalities are pretty like just different from one another. You have Kosei, who's the shimid, shy, timid guy who's really depressing. Like, sometimes he can be really depressing, and with his past, who can blame him? We have Kaori, who's the complete opposite, just bright, cheerful, um, optimistic, and really just trying to get the most out of life. Tsubaki, who's tomboyish and Kosei's neighbor, yeah, and kind of his big sister figure, and Tsubaki, who's really just a playboy soccer star. So between the four of them, there's some crushes, there's some denials. Well, not denials, but flirting and just complications. Friend zones, you name it. But I really enjoyed that. It's one of the things you really expect from slice of lives. Okay, so to get to the positives of the series and what I really enjoyed about the anime, the first one I want to talk about is the main character. I feel like main characters in animes are extremely important. They're essential to have a good main character for you to be, enjoy the anime, because most of the story is fed through from the main character, and if you don't like the main character, you're gonna have to deal with them with a lot of screen time. So, you should. It's much more enjoyable when you have a really good main character, and Kosei was just that. At least for me personally, um, the thing that I really enjoyed about him the most was just how relatable he was. For me, at least, just the concept of being forced something that you just want to enjoy, or just being forced a certain craft onto you. It kind of, uh, I'd say I can relate somewhat, not to that extent though, and I've seen it to some other people. but it really sucks, you know. It's just the expectations, the pressure, everything that comes along with it. You see that with Kosei and how he has to deal with that in the story, and it's nice to see in a character. The second thing relatable about him, I feel, is just the guilt. You know, I'm pretty sure everybody in some point in their lives has had to go through regret and guilt. Maybe not to the extent of Kosei, where he's just been traumatized by it, but, you know, something along those lines. Something you wish you haven't done, or you wish you did differently. You know, something like that it's really valuable, I believe. And it's really nice to see how he develops and tries to overcome, you know, his situation of just just having to deal with the trauma of his mother's death and what really caused all of that. The third thing that I'd find relatable that maybe, you know, more of the cool guys haven't had to experience was the fact that he was friend zoned. You know, so on top of everything else, he was kind of friend zoned by Kaori. And yeah, he kind of fell for her ever since she brought him back into the world of music. And that's, you know, perfectly understandable. I mean, he dropped piano, but this girl just comes rushing in and just pulls him back. So, of course, he'd fall for her. And it's nice to see, you know, just him having to deal with that on top of everything else. It's kind of, you know, cool to see a main character having, you know, to struggle with everyday life things like high school stuff, I guess, even though they're in middle school. But that's basically why I like Kosei and why I feel like he's relatable. Oh yeah, one other thing, I really enjoyed just the development he's had throughout the series. I mean, he starts off really gloomy, depressed, and just compacted into the past, like just trapped in the past. But slowly, you know, he's just right, like trying to get back his old self and just enjoy everything more and forgive himself really for not even his mistakes, but what he believes is his fault. So it was really nice, and by the end, Kosei's become one of my favorite main characters, just for, you know, his development throughout the series. Another thing I'd like to say I really enjoyed was the animation and the soundtrack. Now the soundtrack was classical music, so it was like Beethoven, Chopin, um, Mozart, you know, all those legends. And it was cool, you know. Piano instrumentals are really nice to hear, especially if, you know, they're like classical piano, at least for me. But the one thing that surprised me is the animation that goes along with it. I didn't really think they could animate playing piano so well, but they did. I mean, during that time, you just see what the characters are thinking, what they're feeling, the emotions that's going through their heads as they're playing their songs. It's really visually appealing. Sometimes you have scenes of just darkness where the main character or just players in general are feel like they're sinking deep, and other times you see animations where they're just free as all can be and they're up in the sky just playing to their own will. And it's really nice to see just the visuals that come along with the anime. It was pretty, you know, it's pretty to look at. Let's see what other positives. I'd have to say just the amount of emotional impact. You know, it's an anime that really hit me emotionally, and it's, you know, from Kosei's trauma to even the relationships and just not the relationships between the main characters. That was also really nice, and just, yeah, just overcoming, you know, emotions of playing, or Kosei just trying to forgive himself. It was all really touching and heartwarming, and maybe if you don't like sob stories, maybe this isn't for you. But those were basically what I really enjoyed about the series. As far as negatives, I couldn't really think of any, but who knows? This might not be for everybody, but I just felt like I had to share it. So, this is Little Nogi Tales here, and thanks for watching.